Hi there, music teacher Kent here. This is part 2 of a video series about jazz guitar chord voicings. So if you haven't already seen part 1, you may want to check that out as well. To give you a quick recap, in part 1, we learned how to play 2-5-1 progressions in the key of G and C using 3-note chord voicings that have the root in the bottom note of each voicing. That's our 2-5-1 in the key of G, and these voicings can be used to very good effect. However, today we're going to be adding one note to each of these chords. That extra note will be on string 2, and in the case of the A minor 7 chord, that note is going to be at fret 5 on string 2, which will allow us to include the note E, which is the 5th of the A minor 7 chord. The D7 chord will have one additional note at fret 5 on string 2. This is the 9th of a D7 chord, which means that the name of the chord will now be D9. The G major 7 chord will have an additional note at fret 3 on string 2. This note is D, which is the 5th of the G major 7 chord. Let's hear those 3 chords in sequence. I'm just briefly going to explain why we're using a D9 chord instead of a D7 chord. If we played a D7 chord with the note D on the 3rd fret of string 2 as the highest note of the chord, it would sound like this. There's nothing wrong with this chord voicing, but for the application of playing jazz, we're more often going to choose a D9. That's partly just due to the unique qualities of jazz music, as well as what has become standard over the decades. And it's also because it means that the top interval of this chord is a major 3rd, which is a more consonant interval than a major 2nd. And if we play that top interval by itself, only the 2 top notes of the chord, we can observe that the interval of a major 2nd, while not extremely dissonant, is not as consonant as the interval of a major 3rd. Now we're going to take a look at the 2-5-1 progression in the key of C. The first chord is D minor 7. The second chord is G7. And the third chord is C major 7. I've just played these voicings exactly the way I showed them to you in part 1. Now we're going to add additional notes on string 2. For the D minor 7 chord, we're going to add the note E at fret 5 on string 2. This does change the name of the chord to D minor 9, and some of the same principles that I was just talking about related to the D dominant 9 chord also apply to the D minor 9 chord. If we played the D minor 7 chord with the note D in the highest note, we would get a chord like that. and we would have the interval of a major second at the top of the chord. By putting the interval of the major third at the top of the chord, we have a more consonant sound, and we also change the quality of the chord. Our G7 chord, we're going to add the note E at fret 5 on string 2, which produces a G13 chord. The note E is the extension of the 13th on the G dominant chord. Moving on to the C major 7 chord. In this case, we're going to add the note D to fret 3 on string 2, producing a C major 9 chord. The reason we choose to produce a C major 9 chord instead of a C major 7 chord relates to similar principles that I was just describing about the D dominant 9 and D minor 9 chords. And it also allows for better voice leading than if we were to choose a different voicing for this C major 7 chord. Let's hear what these 3 chords sound like in order. One more thing I'd like to discuss with you is the difference between a G13 chord and a G7 chord. By putting the note D at the top of this chord at fret 3 on string 2, we produce a G7 chord. D is the 5th of the G7 chord. Now this is also a great choice when you're comping over a G7, and it's really more of a stylistic preference than anything else. So I wanted to show you both so that you can try them both out. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope this lesson has been informative and helps you in your study of jazz guitar. Be sure to tune in for part 3, where we'll learn about rootless chord voicings. Have a great day.